Hello, welcome to our international program. Today we're going to cook for you at the middle school in Herzogenaurach something Spanish. Our guest today is Julie Kelle. Hello, Julie.
Hello.
Nice seeing you.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
What are you cooking today?
Today I'm cooking a dish which is called chicken filled with labna and a Spanish pisto, which is a type of ratatouille, and saffron potatoes.
Okay, so today we're cooking Spanish food. Although you are from...
I'm from England.
There you go. How come?
Well, just over 10 years ago, a very good friend of mine was seriously ill. And we both really liked cooking. And she had a subscription to a cooking magazine called Eat Smarter, and they advertised a cooking competition called Cooking Cup. And the theme was Andalusia, and you had to develop a recipe with food that would come from Andalusia, so something typically Spanish. And then they chose from, I think it was 700 entries. I thought it would be really good for my friend because she was so ill, and we'd have fun just developing a recipe and cooking and trying it out. And then we submitted this recipe and it got chosen for the competition, which we didn't expect. And suddenly we were in the regional heats, which took place in Nuremberg. And then of course we had to practice how do you serve the food, because the criteria for this competition wasn't just the preparation, it was the choice of ingredients, how you organized your workspace, how you kept in a certain time, keeping everything clean and tidy, but also presentation. And that was what we found the most difficult, to present the food in a way that looks really appealing.
So today we're showing something very easy to cook, but it really gives the impression something...
Yes, I think it looks good on the plate. It has the Spanish colours, red and yellow, but most importantly, it tastes good.
And you got this apron?
Yeah, that was my aim. I didn't care how far I got in the competition, I wanted the apron. Today we're cooking for 5 to 6 people. So for the filling, for the chicken, I'm using labna. And labna is basically a strained yogurt. And you strain it so that it ends up thick, almost like a cream cheese. So in fact, you could use cream cheese, like Philadelphia or something, or you could use quark. It doesn't really matter, as long as you have a sort of creamy basis. And then we need some garlic. So you just grate the garlic. You can put in as much as you like. For this amount, I would use maybe 2 cloves of garlic. And then you just whiz it off like this into the dish. To that, we had some chopped sage. We also put sweet paprika powder. And I would put a tablespoon. So we have garlic, sage, sweet pepper, or paprika, as we say in English. And then we need some pepper. And then a pinch of salt. And stir it. Now I'm filling this filling into a piping bag because I find it easier. You could just slice open the chicken breast and fill it and wrap it up, or you could put it in with a spoon. This for me is the easiest way, so that's why I'm doing it this way.
Okay, so...
We're going to fill the chicken breast with the filling now. So all I do is I look where the fattest part is. These are only part breasts, they're not completely full, so you have to be a little bit more careful. Otherwise you get a hole through the side and the filling runs out. So I use a thin knife and I just insert it into the middle of the breast and then wobble the knife around so that I'm making a type of pocket. And then I get my piping bag and I just fill the chicken breast. And then you take some Serrano ham and then basically wrap the chicken breasts up in the ham. If the ham is a bit too thin or it breaks, you could always tie it with a rouladen tie.
So you think you were able to win the prize because it's an easy recipe?
I really don't know what their criteria was. I think the choice of ingredients was quite balanced from a nutritional point of view because we had lots of vegetables, we had meat, we had spices, potatoes, carbohydrate. So I think it was quite a well-balanced meal. I also think the flavours were what spoke to a lot of people, and the fact that you could easily make this at home. So, for the pesto, chop the onions, and it doesn't have to be precise, just chop it up into small chunks. It will all cook down into the pesto anyway. So, I'm using olive oil because I think the Spanish would use olive oil. First of all, I put the onions in the pan to soften them a little bit, just over a medium heat. Fry that for a few minutes. So I always do that first. Then I'm going to add some butternut squash. It's also a little bit sweet. It's got a lot of fibre in and gives a nice texture. So we fry that off for a few minutes. Just put the lid on that for a little while just so it helps soften it up a little bit more. Now I've got some oregano and some rosemary, and I'm just going to chop that, and I shall add this to the pesto. So rosemary is quite a woody herb. So any woody herb I put in before at the beginning of cooking.
Just chop it together?
Just chop it into, however small you want. They chop down really quickly. So now when it's heated through, the butternut squash has begun to soften. The onions are already quite soft. Then I add a dash of either sherry vinegar or red wine vinegar, and about a tablespoon or so. So now it's beginning to smell different when you add the vinegar. But then I add the herbs and stir it in. Season it with a teaspoon of cumin, then of course salt and pepper. And then I put the lid on and let it cook for a little while whilst I peel my pepper. So I've blowtorched a red pepper to burn the skin, and then put it into a plastic bag so that it softens. And then all you have to do is rub the skin and it will come off, and then you have a peeled, partly roasted pepper. Or you can get jars of already grilled peppers, and then again roughly chop it. So the peppers are already slightly softened, which is why you don't need to put them in until slightly later. It's very aromatic, isn't it? So now we add some pureed tomatoes. And again, I don't think it matters how much or how little you put in. I think a packet is fine. And this is basically our vegetable dish that will accompany the chicken. So now we can just let this cook down for another 10-15 minutes or so, and it should be ready.
And the temperature, it has to be...
Just on a medium heat, medium to low. Here I'd put it on 3, 4. Okay, so now we're coming to the chicken. I've preheated the pan so that I can pan fry the chicken. Then I will finish it off in the oven. And now we're just going to fry them slightly. Just to give them a bit of colour and to start them off with a high heat.
Oh, it smells.
Smells good, doesn't it? You can just put it in the oven without pan frying first. But I find sometimes the chicken is a little bit tough if you do that. And if you brown the chicken first and then put it in the oven, it seems to remain juicier. Okay, so now we're going to put this into the oven. I've preheated the oven to 200 degrees. And we'll just leave it in there for 20 minutes or so to finish cooking. Now, tip in some pine nuts and let them roast in a few minutes, nothing more than that. We sprinkled some pine nuts over the chicken, and yeah, I think they're roasted enough. So now we'll put the potatoes on. We have chopped the potatoes into smallish chunks. So I've already salted the water, bring them to the boil, and add a pinch of saffron. Saffron gives it a little bit of flavour. I don't think it always gives it much flavour, but more importantly, it colours it yellow. And then we let them cook until they are cooked through. So that size, I would say 10 minutes or so. So halfway through cooking, I stir it through just to see how it's doing, and you can sort of feel the squash. I think it still needs quite a while. And then I add some nutmeg. I think nutmeg just rounds off the flavours. Stir that in, put the lid back on and just leave it to cook. Okay, so after 20 minutes or so, take the chicken out of the oven. And then I use the rest of the filling and stir it into the meat juices, and then you have a nice sauce to accompany it. And you can boil it until it reduces down to the right consistency. So now I'm going to cut the chicken and make sure it's cooked through. And then we can start plating up. Those are almonds. The almond we set in a slice of lemon so that it looked like the sun, because it's always sunny in Spain. The advertising campaign for Andalusia at the time, their logo had a sun on it. So we tried to present it so it looked like the Spanish flag with the sun in the corner. To that, we had the butternut squash. And then, of course, the saffron potatoes.
Then we have yellow, red.
Yellow and red, the Spanish flag. And then we have the pine nuts. You can chop them or put them on whole, whatever. And then we have the meat.
I'll get out of your side here.
And
it smells wonderful.
And then the sauce. This isn't quite thick enough. If we had more time, I would thicken the sauce so that it's got a creamy consistency.
It's going to taste wonderful. So,
Enjoy your meal.
muchas gracias.
De nada.
Wishing you buen provecho. Thank you for watching. We hope to see you next time. Goodbye.